Hello, welcome to another episode of NC Podcast. This is the first episode of our life blog, and this time we're going to talk about baking, and I'm talking about making cinnamon rolls. Yummy! Out of everything that I can bake, why cinnamon rolls? Well, first of all, I promised my neighbors and my friends that I'm gonna to bake something for them. And cinnamon roll is something that I have baked in the past and I have good results from it. So that's why I chose cinnamon rolls. And I haven't baked for the past few years, so it's a good reason to start baking. And who doesn't love the taste of cinnamon rolls, right? I like it to be a little less sweet compared to where I bought it from outside in the store. So it's nice to make it at home. And finally, it was Labor Day about 2 weeks ago. So it was a long weekend for me, and I wanted to do something productive. Let's get started. So the first thing what I did was I took out all my cold ingredients and then set them out in room temp so then it can be a little warmer when I'm ready to use them. So basically just eggs and butter. So going to Aldi now just to get the butter because I don't have enough butter at home. So So now I got back from Aldi and I have this extra stick of butter because I didn't have enough. Because I'm making a double batch since I'm giving it to some other people as well. And so in a bowl, I put in all these wet ingredients. And in my KitchenAid bigger bowl, I have all the dry ingredients. I think the flour, the sugar, and the yeast. So here is the stupid thing that I did. I thought I put it in room temp and the butter would be very easy to mix. It didn't work. So I'm supposed to be heating it in the microwave so that it turns into liquid before I do this. Here I'm starting to use my KitchenAid to mix my dry ingredient, and you can see that all my butter is still like clunky, but oh well, it will be fine. So yeah, I just use my KitchenAid and mix the dry ingredients together. Next, I pour in the wet ingredient, the butter, into the dry mixture and mix them a little at a time. So after mixing for about 5 minutes or so, you can see that my dough is getting more dry and kind of sticking to a ball. Once it's done mixing, you can just kind of take the piece of dough out. I have this kneading pad and I put like some flour on top of it so then it's not as sticky. Also, when you take it out, it's gonna be a little bit wet and it might stick to your bowl. But that's okay. Just kind of like use your finger and try to scoop as much out as possible. And if you put like some flour on your hand or in your fingers, it might help you taking it out. So the next step is going to be kneading. Here is me doing some kneading. It's very therapeutic. So after I finish kneading the dough, I put it in a bowl and just kind of cover it with like this plastic on top of it. And I set it outside my deck so where it's warm out in the sun so then the yeast can rise or make the dough rise faster. And then while I'm waiting for that, I think I have to wait for like almost an hour, maybe 45 minutes or so because it's warm. So depending on your environment, if it's warmer, then you need less time. And if it's like not as warm, then you might take longer to make the dough rise. So while waiting for that, I made my cinnamons. So this is my ingredient. It has the butter, brown sugar, as well as ground cinnamon. And I got this McCormick one just because it's a nice brand and I think it tastes better and stronger in the flavor. And so basically I just mix them together and then you mash them out and you get this kind of pile of cinnamons that you can kind of jelly onto your dough later. So what I did is I rolled down my dough into a big flat, try to be as rectangle as possible. And then I just use a normal spoon and spread my cinnamon on top of the surface and try to kind of put them as even as possible and spread them out. So this is what the dough looked like when I kind of finished proofing. I actually made a double batch, so I split it into two pieces. Actually, this is the big piece, and then I split it into two later, two smaller half size. And then I spread my cinnamon, and then I roll them up into like, a long roll. And then I kind of cut them, try to be evenly estimate because I'm just doing this homemade, so I don't really care to be exact, or be pretty. As you can see that the edge is not very pretty, but that's okay. And then I just put them on these papers, um, and so then it doesn't stick into your your tray, um, and get it ready and start baking. So this second piece is on my second batch right here. It looks much nicer because I cut out the edges. Otherwise, with the extra edges, that's fine. It just the two pieces on the side doesn't look very pretty, but I mean, that's okay as well. And then I roll them up and I cut them into pieces. And I have like a bunch of walnuts at home and I just want to decorate it and I like walnut. So I just put a walnut on top of each piece and bake it along with the cinnamon rolls. And while it's baking, I can start making my top layer of the sugar or whatever you call it, the cream on the top. I didn't use cream cheese. I found a recipe where you just use the white confection sugar instead. And then I found out also I need butter. So that's why I had to go to Aldi to get extra. And then the other ingredient, which is vanilla extract. So basically it's ready to put into the oven. So I got these two trays ready, get my gloves out or my mitten out and all these things just to protect my surface, to rest the hot tray on top of it. And then on the upper right is the pictures of my sugar layer. So that's all ready to go. Okay guys, mistake number two. So after about 15 minutes in the oven, I look at it and then I was like, oh my God, why does it still look white? And it doesn't brown or golden at all. And then I realized I forgot to brush it with egg yolk. And so I immediately crack an egg, beat it, and then brush it all over the top of both trays of the cinnamons. And then I shove it back into the oven and then I have to like have it baked for an additional 10 minutes for those eggs to turn golden color like this. So I think in the end I fixed it, but I might have overbaked it. As you can see that all the cinnamon is kind of like running out of the cinnamon rolls. This is the final slide. So this is the final product. On the top right, I was trying to give this to my friend. So I tried to brush the sugar on top of it. It was still warm, so it's kind of half melting and half not melting. Look kind of nasty actually, but it tastes great. So this one on the left here, you can see all the sugar have been melted and it looks really wonderful. It's not super sweet as I hope. The sugar was moderate enough and I just don't put a lot on top of mine. And I like it to be melted, so after a day or so, I would just put it in the microwave. I keep the sugar in the refrigerator, so then it's easier to spread when it's in solid state. And then on the bottom right picture is when I cut out the pieces of the cinnamon roll, and you can see every bite is full of ground cinnamon. So here you have it. This is my little adventure of baking on Labor Day weekend and shared the sweet with my neighbors as well as my friends. So my neighbors said it was awesome and they loved it. And if you guys ever have time, enjoy some baking. Thank you.